Alright, let's take a more closer look at some of the parts that we've had custom made for the Artaboy. I wanted to get a close-up of these metal snap domes. These are built with the stickers, so they all go on in one step. With the gold on gold contacts we've got here, should be good for about up to 2 million cycles. So, really excited about that. We are also able to visit our injection molding factory. This is the very first place plastic that was shot out. It didn't make it all the way through the mold. This is known as a T0, like the first time you run through the machine. This is known as the sprue. This is where the plastic first comes in through. Then you then have a runner, which goes in through the gate where the product is actually filled. So you can see, didn't quite make it full coverage. Second shot that we did produced a little bit more. Every time we do a shot, then we're changing values on the machine to adjust the temperature, the pressure, all these other values in there. So you can see that this one gets a little bit closer. And each time we do this, there's things that we're looking for. So for example, since the screen area is thinner and the injection port is over here, this is one of the last parts to fill, as well as some of these finer details. So each time we make an adjustment to try and correct for these. And here is pretty close to what we're going to end up with in the end. They haven't polished the mold yet, so it's not completely clear as it's going to be in the final unit. There's still a few places that could be cleaned up here. Reducing some knit lines, so when the plastic flows back around, it rejoins. So we're going to end up with knit lines here and here. There's nothing we can do about that, but we can try to minimize the visual impact. As it turns out, actually, when it sits on top of the PCB, as I said before, it'll be more clear, but you won't really notice any of those defects. We're also using in-mold fasteners, which are super cool. So these are little nuts that are placed inside the plastic during the injection molding process, and that allows us to be using screws metal on metal, so we won't be at risk of stripping out the plastic. So it's really exciting to see these things come together. Oops, it's upside down. And let's take a look at the buttons. So what we've got here is a little family mold for the buttons. This means we can make, for the round buttons, we're making 8 at a time. Then these are produced, and then an assembly worker will just go ahead and knock these guys out. Let's go ahead, let's test fit a couple of these here, so we can take the buttons and they'll be dropped in here. And dropped in here. Cool, and then we got a couple buttons, they sit in there like that. So we also have another family mold for the directional buttons. So you can see those here. We were making some other spacers here. We ended up not needing to use those, so those will be made. And we're going to block that off on the mold, so they won't be produced that way. So you can see here, these are the little underside. The little pin that's in the middle is the actuator for the snap dome. So that's actually what is pushing down here. So the idea is that it's sitting here and get a nice little activation. The 3 little divots that are in there, those are actually ejector pin marks. So that's where in the mold it ejects the part there. And this is again called the family mold. So we're producing multiple units at the same time. Take a look at some of the piezoelectric speakers. So we started out with just a basic brass element. Has a ceramic electrode on one side. And this wasn't loud enough, so we tried some other stuff. We tried various different speakers. We had this one originally, which actually has a piezoelectric speaker inside of it. But since the thickness was a little bit too much for where we wanted to place it, we ended up going with just the bare element. We tried using, we found these square elements, pretty cool. And we actually ended up going through the factory and picking out various different samples, trying everything. The one that ended up working really good was something that I didn't even know existed before, and it's a double-sided piezoelectric element. So see, you have the ceramic on both sides, so you have electrodes on both sides. These came, when I went through the market, I saw these just on a shelf, but I didn't need the wires. I wanted actually just the bare metal, the bare element, and they had it, but it was in aluminum. So using my very limited Mandarin skills, I had to communicate that I wanted it to look like this, but I wanted it made with brass. This is very difficult to solder to. And I wanted it to have the same audio quality as this one because I tested it and it seemed to be great. So we'll have in the next video, I'll give you a preview of what the new sound is looking like. We'll put some demo code on there, hopefully with one of the very first finished units. See you soon, guys.